Hello and welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy the story. This was written by a real human. So please leave a like if you enjoy it to help the channel and subscribe for future content. It's free. Links to the story and Patreon will be in the description. Please go and support the author. Any support is always appreciated. If a human narrator would like to narrate my stories, please contact me. I write these in my spare time between work and my children and just don't have the time or quiet space to narrate them myself. I hope you can understand. Thanks for your time, and again I hope you enjoy the story. And for the love of everything YouTube, this is literature, so please leave my channel alone. Let's get into it, folks. So how did you Jackson nodded at Orellana. She walked beside Zava. Meet Orellana? By meet he meant how the hell had he been linked with her, Gregory surmised. He let out a chuckle as they cleared the 5th floor landing. I was impatient, and time was of the essence. If I wanted to try to salvage valuable intel, I had to act fast. He grunted. Ahead of them, Zava and Orellana giggled at something they found amusing. Orellana glanced back at him and gave him a salacious wink that caused his pulse to quicken. Possibly the best mistake I could have ever made, he said under his breath, thankful for his naturally tanned physique. So, she hasn't? I mean, you guys haven't? Jackson asked, pointing at one of his and Zava's children. He cleared his throat and held up a hand apologetically. The man looked like he was struggling. No, not yet. He smiled at Jackson. The man had missed a step with his response. He grabbed his arm to catch him from eating a step, but it was unnecessary. I promised them when it was time I would carry out my duties. He nodded at Orellana and smiled. Promised? Jackson asked as they cleared another landing. Arching an eyebrow, he motioned to himself, to the scars. To his eye. Gregory knew exactly what he was talking about. Private, I was there when they brought you and Simons to dock. I'll be honest with you. You looked like a pissed-off, puffed-up toad when they dropped you two on him. He shook his head. Looked like your damn skin was crawling. He glanced at Jackson, who had turned pale. Having said that, yes. I intend on holding up my end of the bargain. He stopped to motion to an older man holding a pair of old binoculars. See anything, old-timer? The man jerked a thumb towards the large window he squatted by. A large explosion just went off by the cathedral. Radio talk says it was survivors who did it. Military ODTs reported clearing the area by sector. He nodded at Jack. Our supplies are still okay, but those captives. The man hung his head, pain etched into his elderly features. The wounded and infected. Orellana stepped forward, reaching out and touching the man's arm gently to draw his attention. Please be patient. Gregory was able to incapacitate her before she could cause irreversible harm to your grandson Carl. The good doctor is with him now. If you would have killed her as you wanted, he would be dead too. She bobbed her head. And Garn, Theridon, and Vance. Gregory remembered Orellana's mad dash to make him help the small group of survivors trapped in the basement next door. A viril had found them and was toying with the young men as the women were screaming for help. The one woman who had tried to flee initially had been torn to shreds and eaten immediately by the yellow bugs. Gregory could still remember Orellana becoming sick, and an overwhelming sense of disgust and helplessness radiated through the link. He literally couldn't say no when she had begged him to help them. He wanted to only worry about Arnsa, Orellana, and his mother. He had just gotten through with the Regan bats. And even with the advanced nanite booster Doc had given him, he had still been dragging ass after just making it to their apartment. He nodded. Carry on, Carl. I expect more ODTs to be coming in low and fast. Make sure they know we're just friendly civvies. Don't say anything about the captives or the wounded if you're not directly asked. He looked at Orellana, who nodded. Carl gave a salute and turned back to the window. They started up the stairs again, and Gregory continued. Arnsa and Orellana saved not only my life but everyone on the Phoenix. An infestation of broodlings had made it on board, and they warned us as soon as they sensed them. They didn't have to. He smiled at Orellana as she gestured at the cityscape, talking to Zava in front of them. And I was the one who inadvertently forced the bonding to begin with, not them. He nodded to himself. He had thought he was prepared before to repay them, but he felt more honor-bound to see it through now. I even tried to cheat them out of it. They still managed to save my dumb, unworthy ass and my squad mates. And then found me, and kept me company while I was in a very dark, dangerous place during the fucking Regan baths. He tapped his temple. No, I owe them. A lot more than I can ever repay. Kulchalalka, are you worrying again? I told you everything will be fine. She looked back at him, giving him that same mischievous smile. Well, my blueberry sweet, I can't help but worry. I told you. He gestured at Jack and himself. Us humans don't know what's going on. I only know through observation and your little cryptic messages that something is about to happen, something big for both Viril and us, somehow, and nobody is going to be able to stop it. He shrugged, but at this point I'm committed. If it's not going to harm Sol or my family, then fuck it, I'm on leave, somebody else can sack up. He motioned to a blown-in window on the opposite wall. ODT should be having a picnic with these assholes. And I think I saw a six-pack in the refrigerator. And I can smell dinner. That made him smile. Come on, let's get a bite to eat and a beer. Sound good? He asked Jackson, patting the man on the back. Jackson wasn't much smaller than himself. That sounds good, sir, said Jackson. None of that now. Just Gregory, Jack. Gregory said, waving dismissively. Like I said, I'm on leave. He gestured to the door Orlana had been leading them to. Welcome to our humble abode. Make yourselves at home. He gave a smile. He leaned the rifle against the wall behind the front door as they entered. The smell of spices and the sound of simmering meat hit his senses, and his tongue liked to beat his brains out and drowned him in saliva. That smells like chicken biryani? May Lakshmi bless that woman, I did miss her cooking. He motioned to a couch and said, have a seat. So how is fatherhood, man? He sat in a large chair across from him. Orlana and Zava went into the kitchen, still talking and giggling, Zava rocking a child in her smaller subarms. He smiled seeing it. He had never thought he would want to start a family. He was turning 40 in a few days and had been a career Navy man since joining after school. Mostly as a way to escape his family's squalid living conditions in New Delhi. He had been worried about it at first. Having seen Jack's condition when Zava had injected him with her larvae. Orlana and Zava came walking out of the kitchen still chatting, and now Orlana was holding one of Jack's kids, 2 cold bottles of a locally brewed lager, cheap and easily obtained. Orlana had traded some fresh produce that was hard to get for a cooler full of the stuff before he had woken up from the Regan bath. He took them as she walked by, heading for Arnsa's cocoon. Zava wasn't just sweating, she was starting to tremble slightly too, and he could see Jack watching her closely as they ducked through the silk curtain draped over the doorway. Orlana had started doing the same thing not long before Jack and Zava had shown up. You're worried? He asked. Jack looked at him and rolled the bottle between his palms, his jaw muscles clenching as his cybernetic eye seemed to focus intently on Gregory's face. The man sighed as if admitting defeat after a long, bloody battle. He finally realized he couldn't win. I am. If something happens to her, well, not only am I fucked, but our children too. He stopped as Gregory raised his bottle to him across the small table separating them. Congratulations, by the way. He tapped Jack's bottle. Now tell me, how bad was it? He leaned forward. He really wanted to know. I don't remember shit. Jack shook his head, took a long pull off his beer and sighed. I remember a lot of pain. Like I was being overloaded. He shrugged. Then I woke up too. He looked back at the doorway Zava had gone through. My kids and Zava. He knew Jack had been badly wounded, but he had been rushed off by medical. Gregory hadn't had time to dig through the red tape and track him down. Not before they had deployed to investigate Farsi. An uncomfortable amount of time passed, Jack still staring at the doorway. He cleared his throat. There's no way that took this long. How did you end up here? He took another cold swig. He could hear the children laughing from the other room. Well, it kinda did. We were stuck on Europa until earlier this month. Took us a while to find a place. Navy wouldn't let me sign back up. He held up his arm as an example. Normally that wouldn't be a problem, but Gregory knew it was more along the lines of the wounds doctors couldn't see was more the issue. Jack had always been a good soldier as long as Gregory had known him. Zava found us a nice apartment. And then the assholes dropped in. He nodded at the window. They talked for about half an hour before Orlana and Zava came out of the room, anxiety written all over their faces. Jack, I can't hold it off any longer. You'll have to watch our children. Zava carefully placed the little ones on the floor. Please, she said, fully turning towards Jack. I must do this, I'm sorry I won't be able to help. She looked out the window towards the big Viril dropship, its top glinting in the sunlight far in the distance. I know I have no right to ask. Gregory lost whatever else they were saying as Orlana's smiling face popped in front of him. Kulchalalka, I'm sorry, I must join my sister. It has already started. She raised a trembling hand and traced his jawline with a sharp black nail. I can't wait. She winked at him, her eyes sparkling with what could only be mischief. I'll be here, Orlana. He suddenly felt ornery and found himself moving in the moment, as he cupped her chin and drew her closer for a passionate kiss. As he let her go, he could see her cheeks flushed a light purple and she was stunned. He said, "My blueberry, do whatever you need to do." He had decided. "I will be here. I promise you nothing will harm you or Arnsa, you are my family now." He grabbed her hand as she started towards the room Zava had just staggered through. "I can feel Arnsa. I don't know why she won't let me in. But you were both there for me." He squeezed her hand. "I just want you to know you're not alone." He let her hand go, and he could have sworn he heard her say something about her kalchalalka as she nearly ran through the curtain. Jack was standing staring at the door. A look of pure anxiety etched on his face. Gregory stood up and walked over to him, placing an arm around his shoulders. "Come on. Let's go get something to eat. Smells about done." He looked down at the children playing on the floor, content as only the young can be. "I don't think they're going to run off, and I swear I've heard your belly growl a dozen times since you sat down." He gave him a slap on the back, which seemed to snap the man out of whatever nightmare his mind had taken him down. "What's the kiddos eating?" He wasn't just asking for conversation either. The view screen popped on suddenly. Fuzzy but clear enough that he could see. It had gone out after the big white flash about an hour and a half ago. He stared at it as he realized he was seeing a drop ship barreling towards Earth and Luna. Its engines blew as another much smaller ship came burning into view. He and Jack both stopped dead, staring at the screen in disbelief. How the damn thing was still together he couldn't tell, but there was a big gash fore to aft that almost went completely through. Life pods ejected as it unleashed missiles and then a few more pods jettisoned. And Gregory heard himself grunt as the smaller ship's core flashed critical. "Damn," was all he could think as he watched the screen flash white. President Allen looked at the news feed and frowned. He had just witnessed, like everyone else in the Sol system, and soon everyone in the galaxy connected to the Galnet system would see the Regent run down the enemy Viril dropship and detonate its core, a sacrifice to save Earth and Luna harm. He had known instinctively what that ship's goal had been as soon as it started moving again. Everyone had. "Get those pods. All of them, goddammit." He heard Admiral Liam bark. His gruff voice nearly hoarse from the constant tone he maintained with anyone of lower rank. He wasn't mean, it was just his way of maintaining the status quo in a navy that had been severely handicapped over the past 2 decades. They were standing on the Hermes Station observation deck orbiting Earth. One of 3 Terran shipyards currently in the system. It offered a good view of the nearby gate and orbital forts and platforms, which meant they had been close to the ships in relation to other stations thanks to their orbit. Their sensors had been crippled though from the EMP burst the moonship had emitted as it exploded. They had specialists poring over the blueprints Admiral Zhang's task force had brought back from the Farsi mission to figure out what exactly had happened. In the meantime, "Bring them home, Admiral," Allen said. "How is Mars looking?" "Mr. President, we have reports of heavy fighting approaching the Viril drop ship. Our ODTs are securing our civilians that were caught in the attack's vicinity and pushing the bugs back nearly to the drop ship itself," Admiral Liam said. "Surprisingly light military casualties, civilian casualties are unknown as of now. Looks like the information that Viril woman gave us was accurate, Mr. President," came his aide from beside him. "Zava, the one linked to Private Jackson, I believe. I'm still not sure how I feel about that situation," he replied. "How goes the fight at Eordiria and Janzal?" "We have managed to stop the Viril fleets. We had more success at Eordiria with the help of their orbital defense platforms. I have recommended we acquire some of their new shielding tech, it's proving quite effective," Admiral Liam said, raising his hand to stroke his seemingly freshly shaved chin. "They hit us hard at Janzal though. Broke through the system defenses and smashed into the naval assets pretty hard before we were able to push them back. The line holds across United Sol Alliance territory and our allies, Mr. President." He watched as the first rescue tugs burned into view, already angling toward the nearest life pods. This was a clusterfuck and it made him very angry. He clenched his jaw, swirled his glass of scotch, and stared at the Navy scrambling to protect what should have been easily done. "I hate fucking politicians." Both Admiral Liam and his aide looked at him before his aide said, "Sir, other than yourself I concur," which caused the Admiral to snort. Well, his amendment had been pushed through just like he knew it would. He downed his drink in one gulp, setting the glass down on the table as he turned to walk out of the observation deck. "Admiral, I want to know who was still on that ship. I want to know everyone who lost their lives defending our systems. Everyone, Admiral." He walked out, heading for his office. He had to lay some more groundwork if his plans were to fully play out before his term ended. Has Naval R&D gotten started on Project Hind and the Hellhounds? he asked, referring to his pet project he had managed to convince the Navy to start 3 months prior. Part of the reason he had needed the amendment was to help hide the cost. The fact it was also deemed a top-secret naval project acted as a double-edged sword. The senators wouldn't be able to figure out what they were building, but at the same time he couldn't bring civilian contractors into the picture. At least not for the actual construction. Contact the Eordirians, let's secure their shielding tech. Use the excuse we would like to upgrade our orbital fortresses and divert what is needed to fully upgrade the new ships with better shields. I want those new V-whips to be produced too. I don't care if the Senate tries to shoot it down because it was made with bastardized human Orion tech. Get it done. Alan turned down the corridor, his aide close on his heels, and stopped. Standing in front of his door was Queen Delara of the Solarians, a stunning gown cut to reveal way more than he was comfortable looking at. Her exotic eyes locked on his and he silently cursed himself for not turning around and walking away. He had been dreading this encounter. President Alan. Good, I caught you. I was just dropping off my government's response to your decree. She strode towards him, her hips swaying seductively, a practiced walk from a predator of a different nature. He swallowed hard as she tiptoed up to look him in the eyes. I think you'll find it. She put a slender red finger on his chest, her small bat-like wings fluttering just enough to waft him with a perfume that smelled like wildflowers on a mountainside. Sorry, Queen Delara, as you can imagine we've been a little preoccupied. He managed somehow. I didn't know we had an appointment scheduled today. He started to say, oh no, no trouble at all. We didn't have an appointment, but maybe we could meet later in the lounge. She fluttered her eyelashes, red viper-like eyes almost hypnotic. My queen. There you are. Please, we need to get you back to your diplomatic quarters. If the ship makes it through Sol's gates, we need to be ready to board it and flee this madness. Came a bubbling voice belonging to one of her male Solarian attendants. She removed her finger and lowered herself back to the floor, then gave him a wink before stepping around him and walking away, and not in the direction of her quarters. He let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. He couldn't help but stare after her as she sauntered around the corner. Are you sure you hate all of them, sir? Asked his aide under his breath with a wry grin. Thanks for listening. Please leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed the story. If you feel generous and want to support the author's work, go visit the Patreon link in the description. Any support is welcome. Until next time.